So I'm not going to speak. I'll speak after each person speaks briefly. So, because I obviously only have short things that I noticed. So let's just start. Who was in room 1? Okay, so that's you. So you'll just stand right here, right behind this.
This way.
Yep. Yeah, and just talk to everybody.
Yeah. So, Karen was amazing. She really was. We had the best, office in of the night. So that was really helpful, actually. One of the first things that I noticed is that when I walked in, she didn't know I was coming because the door was closed, and she was like strumming the guitar or starting to, and just the warmth of just like, oh, you caught me, just kind of just playful and just open. It was like perfect. And then she was really welcoming, having me sit down, and I felt really listened to. That's probably the biggest thing that I felt like. I was really struggling with like feeling a belief of like not being seen, and she's so seen, and her voice is seen, so it was a perfect match, and I got to really feel open enough to like really talk about what I'm struggling with, and how I really am that I know I'm a manifester, and she really just helped me see that there's no difference of what I manifest. Felt like I don't really have anything, honestly, like
that's okay.
Like challenging to say. I thought she handled the session beautifully. The timing of everything was great. Really got to the heart of like what I was dealing with. It was with a lot of love and compassion, and guided me to several things to look at. I got to do it and experience connecting to something that I needed to connect to.
Good.
Yeah,
Great.
Really powerful.
Good. Thanks, Rudy. So Karen, the only thing you're good. You can sit down. Sure. It's fine. Back up. No, you're good. That's fine. I look great tonight. The only thing I noticed, do you know what I'm going to say?
I didn't start with
Exactly. So here's what you did. Well, but here's the thing. So you let him talk for a minute, but you had him talk about his issue. And so you didn't set it up. You actually backtracked it beautifully. So you said, so tell me what's going on. And he launched right into, which they will, he launched right into what was going on. Yeah, well, you don't know though. So because of that, you then started to do an invocation. He wasn't sure you were doing an invocation, and he closed his eyes, and then he opened them to check to see if he was doing what you were doing. So there was an uncertainty in the beginning, but then you did it, and then you made the space sacred, and then you got back into it. So that was all. I wasn't there for the rest of it, but yeah, but you backtracked beautifully. I was like, wait a minute, we're into this already? What happened to the invocation? Then I was like, oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah. So that's why you closed your eyes and then opened them to see if she was closing her eyes. Yeah. But you're so loving. You have such compassion. You listen brilliantly that, I'm sure there's no reason why he wouldn't remember that, having then gone through the rest of it. So how I, on the other hand, was able to watch. So that was all. And you already knew that. Clearly. Okay, good. Who's number 2? Okay. Who was it, David? Francesca. You're good. It'll hear you.
I think I challenged David quite a bit. He created a nice warm space, as warm and as nice as you can get out there, the public mezzanine. And he had at very low level on his iPhone some meditative music with bird sounds. And that was nice because it wasn't too loud, thankfully. And I don't remember an invocation. I remember a welcoming, very professional and warm, but I may have been in my own cloud, and I may have done it, but I don't remember that.
Did he tell you that it was a safe space,
yes.
Sacred space?
Oh my God, yes.
That's the invocation.
Okay, then he did that.
He doesn't need to stop and do a treatment. So yeah, okay, that's it.
Then it was done. And I think I did challenge him quite a bit. I wasn't really forthcoming. I was dealing with a particular issue, and I didn't always feel heard, even though David Allen was asking me very specific questions. I felt sometimes that some of the questions were leading me as into the wrong area for me. His heart was open, his concern, his intelligence, everything was there, but I felt a little bit unheard. I have to throw this out. I made it up, by the way. I made it.
And that's not important yet.
Okay.
Now that it's out, though.
I needed to say it because when I made it up, I had there was a semi-practitioner in me that was thinking that what is the issue here and how. So I created a scenario that I thought would make that more evident. But I felt like it wasn't specific enough to me. There were certain lines of questioning that took me down a different road that was hard for me as the person with this issue who had come to see him. And at one point in time, he started to get a little bit angry with me because I could feel being in the moment that I was a tough nut to crack, and I didn't mean to be. But he worked with me, even though the questioning didn't take me down the right road. He worked for me, the right road. But he worked with me in terms of my body. He focused on my breathing as a spiritual practice to bring me into the present moment. And that was a really good focus for me because the issue took me into years of the past and fear of the immediate future. So there was a shift in my energy. I thought it was brought about more by his heart concern rather than specific lines of conversation. And the physicality, the breathing and allowing me to get as comfortable as I could really helped.
Good. Okay. Thanks, Francesca. So yeah, I had a similar notice. Here's the thing: you're a brilliant hypnotherapist. So of course she was very comfortable with that you do so brilliantly to get her calm, the breathing, all of that. But I did notice you asking her a lot of questions that were more about, you had a lot of questions in that little short time I was sitting there. And so it's better to just listen than to have so many questions because she was getting frustrated, but then you were getting frustrated. So I was there for that section of it because your questions weren't the question. It didn't seem to be questions based on, they seemed to be questions that you figured out. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Do you think it could be this? As opposed to, it's better to let the person come to it in spiritual counseling. You know, I don't question your counseling and on how you do your counseling when you're in a hypnotherapist. But for spiritual counseling, it's better to really listen. Most of the sessions that I listened to, I didn't hear much of the ministers. It was I heard more of you and yours than I heard of Francesca. And she was frustrating. She's a frustrating, her whatever she was telling you was very frustrating. So you got to be careful not to get frustrated with the person when they're really frustrating, because there are people, as you know as a counselor, that are really frustrating. But our job is to stay perfectly impersonal and just let them be frustrated. Eventually, they're probably going to tell you something really fabulous, like the belief that they have. So, good. Thank you, Francesca. Who's number 3? Terry? Okay, Sean?
I would say this session was overall very good. Very helpful to me. Terry was very helpful.
Invocation?
There was an invocation.
And did it make you feel comfortable? Did it make you feel safe and secure?
Yeah, it did. It was a good way to start. I'd say in the very first moment, it would be, a suggestion I would make is maybe an even warmer, more open greeting. Because I think that you can't be open and welcoming enough for a person who's feeling vulnerable. So that's a note that I would make. Not that you were not welcoming, but extra effort is helpful. He listened. He was not afraid to make suggestions, which I appreciated, and they were very good suggestions. he didn't get distracted by some of the symptoms of my problem that I presented. I was presenting a very real problem I'm having right now that's manifesting in a number of different symptomatic ways. And he didn't ignore the symptoms, but he didn't get distracted by them. And ultimately, I got some first very practical advice of some things to do to help me in the next 30 days. And then I got, on a metaphysical level, a reminder as to who I am and what energy I am and what I'm dealing with and what issue I need to, what issue I am not, what I'm not, and what I am instead. So ultimately that was very, very helpful. And I felt tremendous heartfelt concern and care for what I was bringing to him.
Okay. And the treatment at the end?
And the treatment was very effective. It was pointed and directed and not too long. And for me, I have a personal preference, we've talked about this, for a
Cut to the chase.
concise treatment without much flotsam. Just, you don't have to put a lot of coffee. Just give me what I need to hear, and let's get out.
Good.
So I like that.
Good. Okay. Good. I don't really have anything, Terry. I thought your questions were, for me, the questions and what I heard you saying to him were very effect-based. It was all about what was going on. So I didn't hear a lot of spirituality. I didn't hear a lot of truth. And when you got into the questioning about, well, why do you want to make that much money? Why do you want to? It's very possible that after I left, you got to a belief underneath all of that, which was really what should have been gotten to. Because the practical, we're not there to give practical advice in the world of form. And I felt like you were really in the world of form, talking to him about his issues and his problems. That's not who you're there to be, to give advice to, well, try this. Maybe if you get this job, maybe if you work here. That's not who we are. We're about, but Sean gives a very different scenario than what I experienced. So I'm just assuming, Sean, that it got to a spiritual based answer to those questions. Great.
He dispensed with that stuff pretty quickly.
He did?
Right after you left, he got right to the underlying beliefs.
Okay, great. Good. Excellent. Okay, who's number 4? Sharon? Suzanne?
Okay. Overall, I think it was a really nice session. There was
Nice?
No, a really good session.
Okay.
No.
You said nice.
No, I didn't mean that in a pejorative way.
Okay.
There was an invocation. I was a little, I felt Sharon is, first of all, she's lovely. And the whole session I thought was very, very helpful. If I'm going to get into specifics, it was difficult for me. I felt like she's very soft-spoken, and we were sitting in kind of a little further apart, so I didn't feel strength in vocally in the invocation part of it. It got better as we went along. I think I was a little difficult because part of my issue was confusion about something I needed clarity as to, something I needed to be working on. And I think perhaps it was difficult in that way. There were questions asked. Were
the questions helpful?
Sometimes and sometimes not. Sometimes I felt more frustrated that I wanted more help in figuring out what I was trying to figure out. And I felt like she wanted me to figure out what the underlying thing was. And I was a little frustrated by that. Okay. But a lot of it was helpful in terms of suggestions as to what I might do in spiritual practice and things like that. Overall, I think the treatment was wonderful. We gave a lovely, lovely treatment. The whole exit portion of the counseling session feels a little awkward to me, in that when I really submit myself to a treatment, I feel so deeply into it, and there's a moment when I want to come out of the treatment and relax and then the exit part felt just a little awkward, like it was a little prepared thing that you say instead of.
Do you remember what it was?
I wanted to feel somehow like we'd shared something together and then kind of more easily ease into whatever concluding words were to be said. But I mean, overall, I have no complaints. So they're picking on specifics because Sharon listens impeccably. And I just felt like I was a little confusing for her.
Okay. Okay. Great. Thank you. So Sharon, yeah, I couldn't hear you, and I was sitting right next to you practically. So it's that issue you've had for 2 years. You go in and you get very quiet. You do. So that's very unnerving for the client when they think the person they're sitting with isn't strong, isn't powerful, doesn't have a voice. This whole thing is about you having a voice, not your real audible voice, but the voice that is in you. And the other part of it is, and I know counseling is one of the hardest things we do. And you're gonna just all need to do it more. That's all. The more you do it, the better you get at it. But be careful about, your job is to speak the truth. So giving directions, giving opinions, suggestions, all that's fine. But ultimately our job is to continually go back to principle and to see the truth. So when you were asking her all those questions, I heard, because I was there during a bit of the frustration part. And when Suzanne was getting more frustrated, there was, I don't remember what it was now, but all you would have had to do was go to the truth instead of keep asking, well, how could you fix that? Well, what would you maybe do differently? It's like, after a while, they just want to slap us. It's like, I don't know. That's why I'm here. So it's not okay to just keep coming on with questions. It has to be said, but you'd have to literally at that point stop and say, well, here's the thing. There is something in you that knows this answer. So don't get frustrated. You don't have to be frustrated because there's part of you that's not frustrated. That's truth. Now I can alleviate and get bypass this issue of a frustrated person that doesn't have the answers you're asking her for. And a number of you had that, asking questions that the person didn't have the answer for. Karen Frost had that a couple times, which she handled brilliantly. When Eric said to her, I have no idea. And she just went right to the next thing. She said, okay. You know, if she had followed that up with, well, you should know, then I'd have had a problem. Okay, so, okay, who's next?
Overall, the session was very, very well done. There were some aha moments.
Invocation?
Invocation was beautiful. The welcoming was warm and supportive. I had a little bit of trouble because Erin and I know each other. There was a little more familiarity than I'm used to in going into a session like I go in with you or any of the other practitioners. So
Explain that.
Erin said to me that she admired me, that I was a mentor for her. And that sort of set me back because I was about to tell her and get very vulnerable with her about an issue that was bothering me.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to really think about it and get over it because it put me off just a little bit.
Because, and let me tell you why. Because you don't want to lose your mentor status and you don't want to lose your respect status if she thinks that highly of you.
Right.
Right.
But it still was.
Right. So there's a good lesson for all of us, all of you. I don't do that. I don't tell people I admire them. But it's important because you've just set up, you have just set up a dynamic that you kind of blew it. Okay, go ahead.
I brought her the issue and we really peeled it apart. We peeled the onion and she asked very pointed questions. There was a couple of times I wanted to go, I don't know. But I had to think about it. And she was always bringing me back to principle.
Mm-hmm.
Her mirroring was good.
Her what?
Mirroring. In other words, she was saying, okay, what I'm
Yes.
hearing is this.
Okay, good.
I think one of the times that she said something about that, and I said, no, it's not there. But then I came back with, there's something else there. That's not an issue. When we finally solidified where we were going, because at one point I said to her, what are you hearing? I was literally asking her because I didn't have an answer. And I threw it back at her. I said, what are you hearing? And so we sort of dialogued on that a little bit and got to the bottom of what was going on.
So you're telling me that you felt you had to pull her out?
No, I didn't have to pull her out. That wasn't what was going on. It was like, I don't have a word. I couldn't find it.
Okay.
And so I literally asked her.
Okay, that's fine.
And that's where we went. The treatment was powerful. It definitely moved energy. I could feel the energy move. And the closure was beautiful.
Great, good. Thanks, Becky. Okay, yeah, I thought you were listening very well, and I thought what you were saying was great too. Going back to this thing, I'll tell you a story about Dr. Walker. So we were all practitioners. We had just become practitioners in Dr. Walker's church, and we were at Asilomar, and Dr. Walker was the president of Religious Science International. So he already had he was already like a big deal, and he was a big deal to us as our teacher. And nothing like this class with me. We all really. And so I remember I was in the practitioner room out by the ocean, and you volunteered to be practitioners. And it was me, and I won't tell you who the other person was because of what I'm about to tell you, but it was another one of our practitioners. And Dr. Walker walked in, and I remember literally looking up and thinking, that's odd, is it time to go? I thought he wouldn't be replacing us. Why would he replace us? He's the president. And then someone walked in and walked right into me, so I had to start treating. I had to work with a client. So he walked over to this other practitioner, and she basically fell apart. How could I possibly? Oh my God, Dr. Walker, how could I treat for you? And he asked her he made her give a treatment since she was also a student of his. And afterwards, he came up to me and says, "Well, I came to get a treatment from you." And I got to tell you, my first thought was, really? Well, that would have been difficult. So it's really important. There's a level playing field. You are just there to know the truth. And if the Dalai Lama walked in, your job is not to fawn all over them and go, "Oh my God, Dalai, hello." No. I had to go there. Does that good? 2 Broadway references? That's good. Yeah. Oh, right. Sharks and Dead. So anyway, so thank you for actually falling into that pit so that we could all see it. Yeah. Okay. Who's next? Who's the next one? Okay. Yes.
All right. Okay, so she created a beautiful sacred space, and
Mariana.
And with the Tibetan chant I'm hearing from the air conditioner and the filming of me, I asked if we could please move the sacred space, so Mariana completely complied. So we had to start kind of all over again. Invocation is spectacularly beautiful. She can pray. She can pray. The counseling, I came in with a large platter of different elements in my life and trying to pull it all together to make sense of my way of walking in the world right now, because it's so different from the way I've walked in the past. And that's a good thing, but it's an adjustment period. So I'm kind of focused on that right now. So I figured I'd bring my real life into the room. Quite a few questions, and quite a few times I had no response to the questions. if I didn't have the answer, or I'd have been bringing the answer forward, is what my mind went through. So I had that same question thing come up. When Jamie came into the room, it was over. I couldn't focus on anything but Jamie, so that kind of distracted us. It's true. Yeah, I apologize. Yes, and to a lesser degree, James also. It was very different. And then when you guys exited the room, it was back to the strength and the power that it really was, and it was. So I thank her for that. The closing prayer, she remembered names. She remembered things we had talked about early in the session and brought it all together. And she asked me first, would it be okay with you if I did a treatment that was all inclusive to everything we've kind of discussed, even though that all of the different elements were to explain to Marianne, who does not know me, where I sit today and basically what my levels of responsibility in the world are and how I'm handling or not handling it at times. So that was basically the just what we were talking about. And to remember to bring into the prayer treatment, very directed prayer treatment on every aspect we had discussed to a limited degree. Again, beautifully poetic, gorgeous, and I love you. I like treatments that are fluffy, I guess is the right word. You know, sweet and kind and loving, and I get that sense of feeling. So I thought for the situation, Marianne did a great job. I really did. And I haven't had a lot of counseling. It was some of the best I've had. So, okay.
Good, great,
Okay.
good. Okay. Who's next? I didn't have anything. I mean, because based on what you said, I didn't experience that when I was sitting there, but what you're telling me is that when I was there, you guys were distracted so that you didn't do the work till we left.
No, it was to a lesser degree when you were there.
Because when I was there, I just heard a lot of questions with no answers, and I didn't really sense any. And I came back for the treatment, and as you know, I don't like flowery treatments, so that wouldn't have worked for me, but it did for you, and that's what matters. The feeling is what matters. So who's next? I'm sorry, who were you with?
Ellen?
Oh, Ellen, right.
Yeah. So Ellen provided a welcoming space. She even had a cup of water there, which was a nice touch. I thought we had a little bit of chit chat, and then you said, let's go ahead and center ourselves. And then you went to the invocation, which was a little bit jarring for me because I guess I sort of expected more of a layout of like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And it just sort of went right into it. Right. And I thought by centering, I thought, oh, are we going to do some breathing exercises? And it was just like invocation. So, and then the session itself, it felt a little intellectual, and it felt a little bit like practically focused. And I know that you were bringing in different spiritual principles when you could, but it almost felt like a fishing expedition for beliefs. Like, what is the belief? What is it? And it's like, I don't know what the belief is. And I came in with a very, what I'd say, emotional, like, I'll share, like I said, I've been feeling a funk. And so there's that emotional piece that I felt was being met by an intellectual piece. And so there's like a little bit of a mismatch. So then it was like, could it be this? Could it be this? Could it be this? And so that by the time we came to the treatment, I said, shall we treat? And I wasn't really clear what the treatment would be for yet. It didn't land for me yet, what this was about.
Did she suggest what the treatment was going to be about?
Well, we talked about some different beliefs, but then she said, shall we treat? She didn't say this is what we're going to treat for, or can we treat for this? Like, it was just like, let's move into treatment. And so then the treatment itself, like, it was beautiful, but I thought it missed the mark because it focused on all of the different practical pieces that we talked about. And so the feeling, like the divine feeling was sort of missing because that was missing for me. And then I think what I had said a couple times was I want this funk to be out of my life. And that wasn't mentioned at all in the treatment, right? It's like, and that would have like meant something for me to hear that, like the funk is gone, right? Or something like that, I don't know.
The funk is gone.
So, and then I thought it was nice. We sat for a little bit afterwards, after the treatment. I thought it would have, like, usually after experiencing something like that, I thought it would be nice to sort of be led or guided out, because I was sort of like, okay, like, what do I do now? And I know that having worked with some clients, like, they'll be like, oh, like they'll have experienced something. So it's nice to just like sort of then be ushered, like, come on. And so, but it was nice that we had a nice hug, you know, it was nice, so.
Okay, great. I think part of what you're hearing, Ellen, is, and that's close. I think part of what you're hearing, Ellen, is your coaching instinct getting in the way of what people expect from a spiritual counselor. And you are very intellectual. Even when you speak on a Sunday, you're very cognitive, you know, and yes, you could afford more funny. What's the name of your company? Heart-centered programs. So I have recognized that too. And so here it is tonight. So it's just something to pay attention to. And it is important to, at the end of a session, to make sure that the person you're sitting with is in agreement with what you're about to treat for. I mean, as a practitioner, it's our job to say, so here's where we are. How about if I treat for this? You know, that's extraordinarily important. Really, really, really important. Okay. Not Jamie yet. Lori Savage. You can stay on us.
I'm here.
Your turn.
I'm here. Okay. Well, boy, I have nothing but good things to say.
Okay.
It was just an amazing session. You're breaking up. Do I sound okay to you?
You sound perfect. But could you do me a favor and look into the camera? Because you're at a very strange angle.
Okay, I'm looking at you.
There you go.
I'm trying. All I have is my. Not sure where the.
There you go. That's.
I'm not sure where the camera is on this. Anyway, it was an amazing session. As you know, you made the suggestion what I should bring, and it was really tough. I mean, I really dumped a lot out there, and gave her a lot to work with. And I never felt anything but peace throughout the entire thing. I felt very comfortable. The invocation, the welcome, immediately felt connected, immediately felt supported. And I felt supported throughout the entire time. I mean, I never felt like I had to say anything, you know, like she was fishing or trying to lead me anywhere. She just created the space for me to get there on my own. And she did ask some questions, but they weren't, they didn't make me feel like pressure to find an answer. They were really easy to answer. So it was just really skillfully done. And the treatment was fantastic. I really can't think of one thing I would suggest that she would change or that could have been any better than it was. I was really impressed.
Great. That's great. Thanks, Lori. Well, I couldn't hear Helen, so I couldn't get on for the two of you, but it doesn't surprise me that that's how she felt. I mean, you are a Hoffman facilitator after all. So I expect that from you. The only thing I would ask you to change is to leave Toronto and move to Los Angeles. Other than that, you know. So Reverend Jamie, do you want to just pop up there? Oh, you didn't. I'm sorry. Karen, right?
Yes. Thank you, Karen Cross, and our session was fantastic. I want to sign up for more as soon as possible. Really, I totally loved it. I don't know how much of it is that I just like talking about myself and my problems, and I would have loved it with anyone, but I really think that it was not that. you know, great welcoming, great invocation. She was so motivated and energetic to get to the heart of what it is I had to say. I would say maybe if I look for anything to critique at the beginning, there might have been a couple of questions that cut me off a little bit, like she was trying to get to answers before I was ready. But basically, it was all in the spirit of let's understand what this is and let's embrace it and let's do something with it. And it was great energy. She completely understood and got everything and pulled out what needed to be pulled out about it and made sure that everything got talked about before we went into treatment. Every aspect of it, that I was cool that we had gotten to all of it. She might have had a slightly unfair advantage in that she works in the TV industry. And so I was talking about career stuff that she seemed to have a shorthand understanding that maybe another practitioner wouldn't have had. So it made it easier for her to possibly to get right into it. What else? There were a couple of those open-ended questions that I really didn't know the answer, but it didn't bother me because it felt like those are important questions to ponder moving forward. I didn't feel like it like messed up the session at all. I felt a little bit though like, yeah, I don't really know, and I do want to know the answers to those. And what else? So the session, the discussion was just like was great. Like we touched on everything. I felt she completely got me and understood me and helped me see it in a way that was super helpful, and asked the right questions and said the right things. The treatment was good. Maybe a little brief. I don't know. We were done before anybody else, so I don't know if I was a paying client, if I would felt like, wait, that was only 50 minutes instead of an hour or something. I'm not sure, but I know we were done before anyone else. That's pretty much it.
Good, great. Yeah, the only thing I would say is you do tend to be very short, and you will find people that have a hard time with that because, you know, and yet Emma Karnas Hopkins would say, you're in, don't tell me anything. Here's the truth. Get out. Give me your money. That was her. But we're in a different time now, so you might want to pay attention to that. I will say that it's about energy, right? It's moving energy. That's what practitioner work is. That's what counseling work is, a movement of energy. I will say that when I stepped into your room, the energy was palpable, and you were in discussion mode. You weren't even treating yet. It was you brought such an energy to the room, such an active listening. And I'm sure you did have a little moment of over questioning in the beginning because that's just something you're still working at. But by the time I got there, you were on high gear energy. It was like you were it was palpable what I could feel in the room from you. And it wasn't like you were pummeling him with that energy. It was just you were there for it. So it was great. I thought that was my experience when I was in there. So, and clearly his as well. So, okay, Jamie. Yeah, just give us your notes of what you saw.
So
you have like 6 minutes.
I'll leave you 3.
Okay, good.
So just going through. So Karen first. It was a good energy setup for the invocation, but there wasn't actual mention of it being sort of a sacred safe space. And there's something about the words coming in through that. Other than that, like, yeah, your big energy is great. But that was it. That was the little technical thing in the invocation. Mariana, so I guess realizing the distraction I was for Sandra, because I could feel, the best way I could say it is that whether it's true or not, but a tension in your energy as I was sitting there when I was off to the side, but there was just something that was less relaxed about you, and whether that's feeling what was going on, I don't know. It's just the sense I got from it. So sorry for whatever going into the room. That said, life goes on in the rooms, and we can't let anything throw us from anything. Ellen, I like you. You're a good listener, and I know you're a good listener. And hearing you, like the part that I got of just hearing you try to, lead where to be and where to go. So I, in the time that I was there, and I got the sense of you listening and hearing. Aaron. Yeah, it was interesting the way it was described to you, because like I heard you say the yak was like, well, I can relate to that, which we can understand our clients' things, but it's an interesting line I find to get to, of like, you don't want to be on that level of like, I feel it.
That is a sentence I never want to hear ever come out of anyone's mouth. Oh, I can relate to that. unless you're gonna, I mean, there's got to be and I don't want to ever say like, never say that, but they don't want you to relate to it. They want you to understand it and know the truth about it. Okay. That's just when I hear people saying things like, I can relate to that. Oh, I know how you feel. It's because you're feeling uncomfortable and you want them to know you like them, or that there's something there. There's a reason for you to have to say that. You shouldn't be saying that. Back to Jamie.
Back to me. I never get to say that.
There you go.
So Sharon in the green room. Yeah, it's interesting, the quietness they spoke of with you, because I find like I always make sure my energy is bigger than whoever comes to me, and that was just something that needed to be there, because there's a really big energy here. Who knows a lot of stuff, and so it was like you supporting her and doing her work, and you want to be there where they have a place to just completely open up and fall into, not any sort of, in whatever way that is. That's the safe spaces that we are big enough to know the truth of whatever is in the room. And even if we're looking for something in our heads or in our listening, we're still big enough to support that and to receive that.
And just so you know, Sharon, Jamie Klein was the Sharon Kelly of my first class. It's quiet. We couldn't hear him. He was shy. He still is a little quiet, and I'm still trying to pull it out of him, but he's gotten a lot better. So he knows what he's talking about. I'll be watching. No, I'll be online. I'm not here.
Oh, okay. Terry. I found it was interesting when I was there. It was interesting when I walked in the room, you were speaking. You didn't even know I was there, so I wasn't even distracting all of a sudden. And I heard you speaking, and I'm like, wow, am I going to hear him speaking for the 5 minutes that I'm going to be there? And that wasn't about half the time, but you were, I don't know what preceded it and then what followed it. But your wisdom and personal experience that you brought in at the right time seemed to really work. And what I liked, and this happened with a couple of people, is that you found in Sean, your client, the things he was looking to see, and you found the areas in his life where those things were working. And it's like, so you're looking to experience this here. Like, well, look, you can experience it. You're doing that here, and I saw it to be revelatory, and it's really great to show someone that this thing that they're looking for is working in aspects of their life. So that now you know where it is, you know what it feels like when it's working, then bring it into. So that was really good. David, yes, you've done this before, walking in and hearing the music and all of that. It's what I got from the space was this warm, safe, open, presence, that you have. That was great, and it was in the midst of the story. And what I was hearing you give to Francesca seemed at that point to be like in line with the conversation. Like whatever you had gone to about what you were discussing, there was some very supportive things coming out of you. After all, part of the conversation was before the treatment. So just again, you know how to set a room and make someone feel at ease, getting someone to open up is always great. And then Karen, who is now not here, was the same thing. She was showing.
She's online.
Oh, okay.
She's right there.
I'm here.
Oh my God, she's right behind me.
I'm behind you 100%.
And I got to hear your treatment, which I was just, I know it's going to get someone's treatment. I was really glad to get yours. It seemed exactly perfect. Now, I missed most of the conversation, but I could tell where you were listening to Rudy and where all that stuff was really coming in. And you did the same thing. You showed him areas in his life where this thing, I'm looking for this. And it's like, right here it is. You see, it's like, yes, I do. And that's such a great gift to meet someone where they are and show them where it's still working anyway. What they're looking for, it's like, I know that you're looking for it everywhere, but don't forget that it's right here and you're actually doing it. Now let's build on that.
Yeah.
It's really evident in what you were doing, and it's really great to hear you talking behind.
That's great. Thank you, Jamie. Okay, so Karen, Connie, I'm gonna bring it over this way so that you don't have two of me, right? Better. Okay, so I want to leave you with this. I have been counseling now for 13 years. I'm really comfortable with it. I love counseling. It's one of the most favorite things I do as a minister. I would imagine that in terms of Ellen and David, that, getting used to counseling from this vantage point will be a process to go from a coach, being a life coach, being a counselor in a different type of venue, will be a bit of a switch. That's all. But you must find that place because that's the people you're going to get from this center, or that's what they're going to be looking for. With that said, I just want you all to know that you all did a great job. I mean, think about this. I'm really glad I chose to do it this way tonight and not the way I did it in my last ministerial class, which is that you'd get up in front of the whole room and do a practice one. And because, I mean, like you could never do that because you do get distracted. Someone walks in the room and it's hard to do, to like, almost like you're acting. Everybody's watching you counsel. Hard to do. Then again, as Jamie just said, you can't be distracted by anything. And I was remarkably impressed with all of you, that you were never distracted. No one seemed distracted when I walked into the room. No one. So that was really great. But you all should feel really good about this. You all got the notes you needed to hear. And there is a law of attraction at play here. There's a reason why Karen Frost and Aaron Bork landed together. And that very reason is why you all landed together. Even you and Ellen, there's something there for you both to, especially given what I was hearing you say about your own career. And then, so there's a reason every single person landed with the person. You landed with Mariana. If Eric had landed with Mariana, he'd have shot himself in the head because she would have started her flowery treatments and he'd have been like wanting to kill himself. This is how it works. And here's the thing, he'll know not to go to her. You'll know to go to her. You're all going to set yourselves up as who you are. People won't come to me if they like flowery treatments. I'm kind of Emma Hopkins. Here's the end of the day. Here's the way I do it. So you're all going to be your own specific type of minister. And you all showed that tonight. And I think that's a positive thing for every single one of you. So the law of attraction will always bring someone to bring your client to you that you got Karen Mitchell. How perfect was that for what you came in with? You know, it's interesting that you got an actress. That's an interesting thing. Well, why did you get the faker? She was the only faker in the group tonight. Interesting. I don't know the answer to that, by the way. You got Terry, probably the two businessmen, the other businessman in the room. There's the two of you got. So just think about it, you know. And you got the Pope. Figure that out. But the interesting thing is, you attracted probably the most flamboyant, larger than life woman, a person on that row there, so that you had to hear what you heard, which is that you got to match her. You are. Look at the room. You're an actress. You know who you are. Yeah. Hello. So it's important to just get all of this, because this is your last week of counseling, you know, and you still had 10 times more than his class did the first time around, you know. So and it's important to me that you are being unleashed. Those of you that will be ministers here, you'll be unleashed on this community. I want to know that when any of them goes into one of your rooms, they're fully handled. It's very, very important. So I think you should all feel really good. And Helen, of course, you're with Jonathan, and I know he feels very comfortable and confident with you. So that's it. Any questions? No. Well, good. Thank you. Let's give a round of applause to them. Thank you for being with us tonight. Laurie Savage, thank you for being here. That's it. So why don't we, who would like to treat up? Joselito, why don't you treat us out? Since my ministers don't seem to be wanting to treat tonight.
And so join me in a collective breath.
And Joselito?
Yes.
As you treat us out, would you treat the funk out of you as well? And we're all gonna know it too.
I know that for me too, yes. Because I know that in anything that we do, we never do it alone. We're always in that one presence, that one energy, divine, creative, infinite, joyous, always at work in each and every one of us here. And so in this energy, in this consciousness, I bless our time together, knowing that this was the sacred time for us to be together. And I'm giving thanks for all that has unfolded. I'm giving thanks for the ways that these ministers have shown up. and will continue to show up. I'm giving thanks for each of the people here who have come to support this community so that these crops of ministers are going to be the best ministers out there.
Mhm.
That's already a done deal in the mind of God. And knowing that truth, I also know the truth for me, that right here and right now, there is no funk in God. There's the funky, but there is no funk in God. Knowing that the funky is that divine, crazy creative energy always at work, always wanting to express more fully creatively each and every one of us. And so I'm knowing that the funk is gone, and we say yes to the funky.
Yes.
As each one of us. And so I know that as we leave here, we have already created new pathways, new lights for these ministers to shine their light more brightly. And so for that, I give thanks. I release my word into the perfect activity of love and law, knowing it's already done. I simply let it all be. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night, Karen. Good night, Helen. Good night.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Good night, Mary Ellen.
Good night, Jim Bob.
Bye.
Bye.
Karen, have a good trip wherever you're going.
Yes, you too, my dear.
I'll see you next week.
I will. All right. Love you.
Thank you.
You're gonna lock up, and I'm not leaving to say I'll leave my office.
Sure, absolutely.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Connie?
Okay.
Connie? Hello? I left my green metal water bottle in James's office. So yeah, just don't throw it away. Thank you, hon. Thanks. Good night.
Energy.
Great.
I know.
That was so sweet.
Mama always says you gotta say something nice before you ask for something. That's how that works.
You do not have to ever do